Hi everyone, welcome to part 2. In this video we'll explain the ins and outs of the juicer itself and what to look out for when setting one up for the first time. So these juicers come from China and they do have quality control, but there are a few things you have to do to make sure that it will run properly and not do anything funky. So the first thing is to take note of all the fasteners which are on this. So on the sides of the mill cheeks here, we have 4 bolts which hold the press adjuster down. You then have another set which bolt the cheeks onto the base, and another set of bolts which hold the bearing housings to the base. And when these are assembled from the factory, they're quite literally just bolted together. There's actually nothing to stop them from unthreading. And when you've got an engine down here which vibrates, this will slowly start to fall apart. So the first thing that I'd done was Loctited the bolts in. Now you can use Loctite, but I just used Araldite. Araldite works perfectly fine as a thread locker, and all the bolts which hold the whole unit together were thread locked so that the vibrations will not cause it to fall apart. And I only discovered this when I had set up on its mount for the first time. I started hearing a lot of rattling noises, and sure enough it was bolts coming loose. So that's all good. The next thing is to take note of what fasteners are where. So these 4 bolts on the top, we have a look at the top, they are grade 4.8. Now that is the tensile rating of the bolt. Now the rest of the bolts are 8.8. Why is that so? Well, it's actually a bit of a fail-safe. If something goes into this juicer and it's too much for the gears, these bolts will actually break before the rest of it does. So it's a fail-safe that they've built into it. So if you ever have to replace these bolts again, make sure you put a grade 4.8 in. They have to be soft enough so if something comes on through, it'll bust those out and you're not going to damage the rest of the gear train. All the bearings in these units are a sealed bearing, but they are a replaceable bearing. Each bearing is held in with a snap ring, so if we do drop a bearing, it's a matter of taking off your gears, undoing your snap rings, and knocking the bearings out of the mill cheeks. The next thing to do is lubrication. So these, when they come from the factory, don't have much grease at all on the gears. And because they are a straight cut gear, you do need a little bit of lubrication. So I've just used a good quality no melt grease on these gears. And when it's juicing, no juice actually goes near the gears at all, so I'm not worried about contamination. Next thing to check for is the amount of free play in the gears. So because these are a machined part, there are certain mechanical tolerances. Sometimes that tolerance gets a little excessive. So I checked all the gears to make sure nothing was floating around. And one gear that was floating around a little too much was the big main drive gear, so it's just been shimmed. Just a touch to stop it floating around too much. And probably the most important part to note of this setup is, yes, they are a stainless roller, but you still have to make sure that they don't rust. Not all stainless steel is made equally. The rollers themselves are a reasonably good stainless, but the shafts themselves aren't a great stainless, and this is what makes these machines fine for home use and not commercial use. So what I do with this machine is, prior to commencing any crushing, I wash the rollers with some dishwashing detergent hot water, scrub them and clean them off, and then start my juicing. When I finish juicing, I do the same thing again. I clean off all the sugar juices, and then give everything a spray with a nice food grade protectant. I like to use inox, and that just helps keep majority of any rust away that I don't want. There is a little bit popping up here and there, but I'm not too concerned about that. If all this is clean and ready to go, then that's fine. Any particles get caught and filtered out and are removed during the boiling and cleaning process. And that's what makes these machines suitable for home use only. If you plan to use one of these machines in a shop, definitely do not. You want to buy a commercial grade machine. Those machines do cost a lot more, but they're better suited for large quantities of human consumption. These machines, perfect for the backyard use, or if you're just making something that's like a bit of a hobby, absolutely fine. And that's about it. And these machines are quite weighty, so whatever machine that you do have, you want to make a good substantial frame. So I was talking before about these top bolts being a fail-safe in case something breaks, but I've also put a second fail-safe in, and that's the engine itself. So the engine itself is mounted on rubber, and those rubber insulators you can buy from any automotive shop. However, mine is mounted quite loosely. The motor will wobble quite a bit, and this is the reason why. If a too large a stick of cane comes into this, rather than breaking these bolts, I want another means of disengaging the drive. And if there's too much load put on that belt, it will actually throw the belt. The belt will stay within the cage here. It will jump off the pulley down there, and it will stop driving. And to me, that is a nicer fail-safe than breaking the bolts on top of the mill cheeks here, and then we're going to try and get them out. So that's just a bit of food for thought when setting one of these up, so that if something does go wrong, it's easy enough to do a reset and start again. In the next video, we'll talk about what sugarcane we have growing and why we've got it growing. Thanks, guys.